So tonight, I'm very glad that we are doing this session. And this 3-week session that we're starting tonight will be about still life. So we'll be drawing, tonight we'll be drawing a mug. And I'll show you a little bit what I mean by that. But before that, I want to share my screen and show you how to find the recording at the end of the class, because I will be putting the link to the recording of the class on my website, where I have put all others, and I will send you the link to that page, but I want to show you first. So now you should be seeing my screen. Can you see Chez Claire? Nod if you can see it. Okay. All right. So on my website, I have all these different menus here. The first one is home, the second one's about, and the other one is art classes. And if you hover over art classes, then you can see all these different menu items. And the second from last is called class recordings. Maybe if I made it a little bit bigger, that might help. Yes. So art classes, the second from last is class recordings right here. So if you click on this, you land on a page that has all the recording, the class recordings from when I started to do the Zoom classes. So I did some in May, and now we're doing, I'm starting the June classes. And this afternoon I did one that has part 1 and 2. Sometimes I have difficulty technically, and it turns out to be 2 different recordings. I also have some other video, like to do a graded wash in watercolor, or in a painting, that gradation red to green. So anyway, you can go back and watch any of these. But at the end of the class today, I will post one more recording that I will put at the top. They're in chronological order, having the most recent at the top. So I will send you the link to this page, and this is where I will post recordings from now on. Now I also prepared a slideshow. Ooh, no, not good. Didn't work. And slideshow. Okay. So can you see drawing in cup? Drawing a cup in phases. Not if you can see it. Okay, there. So drawing it's all about shape and forms. And on the left-hand side here, you can see 4 different forms or shapes that exist in nature. And using these 4 different forms, you can draw pretty much anything. A square or a rectangle is like a building. A cone, if you turn it the other way, it could easily represent a flower or a tree with all the branches and all the leaves. The cone is this one. And then this one here is just a cylinder. A cylinder can represent like a pole, or if you're doing boats, the masts, they're all cylinders like this. Tree trunk is a cylinder. Even an arm is like a cylinder, but it's also it also grows. So it's a cylinder that grows in size. And someone is here. And the circle, I mean the sphere is like, you can think about like a head. A head is a sphere. So all of these shapes, if you can master how to draw them and where to put the shading versus the light, you can master anything. It's as simple as that. Did you know that? So in this case, the light comes from the left. So that's why all of these surfaces have a very light area here on the left and a darker area on the right. Same with the sphere, a light area on the right, lighter, darker area on the left, and the cube, and same with the cylinder, light area on the right, dark area on the left. Now, when we look at the picture, so if I make the picture, whoops, a little bit bigger, there. Now, on the picture, the light comes from the right. So that's why you have this large area here of light on the picture, and also here a little bit on the top of, I don't know what's this part. It's the neck of the picture. So you can see the light here, whereas on the left you can see all the darks here. And the background is just as dark as the picture, but we can see the delimitation where the picture ends right here. And that's because the artist who did the drawing decided to keep the gray a little lighter. And this can actually happen when you're drawing an object, because maybe there is light from another source that casts some kind of a light here on the picture. And that's why, even though this is the area in shadow, we can still very easily see that the picture on this side is lighter than the background. The key is basically observation. And oh, by the way, hello, Michelle. So what we have here that I prepared for you is this. So this shows the 4 steps to drawing a mug. It starts with Darth Vader vessel when he flies in Star Wars, like with a little H on the side. Then, using this as the guides, then we add the top circle. That's like, it's like an eye shape, or a smile at the bottom and a frown at the top. And then the sides, that's pretty easy. Then it continue with, oops, sorry. It continue with, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Oops, having a hard time with this. Okay, here it is. Then it continues with, the bottom part also has a smile. And on my mug, there was a lip, so I added the lip. And then I added the handle and the background where the wall meets the surface on which my mug is. And in the last square, I added all the shading. So today we are going to draw the mug. And mugs, I am going to initiate. And I'm going to start with the steps. So I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to move on to this step here. Then I'm going to add the handle and a little bit more detail. And at the very end, I'll do the shading. We will probably not have time to do the shading tonight, but this will be part of your homework. Now, if you are an experienced person and want to go ahead and draw it without waiting for all the steps, you are welcome to do that. I am going to use an HB, and I'm doing this on it's a bristle board paper. Starting with a very simple first step, and it's like an H on its side. This is what I'm going to do. Can you hear me okay? Just go like this as if it's a yes, because I had some problems this afternoon. So starting with the H, well, I'm just going to put it on the side to start with the H. Well, actually, I'm going to do like this. I'm going to do the H like this. The emphasis is not going to be so much on drawing to scale. The emphasis will be put on trying to represent a shape that is similar to what we see and trying to use the lights that we see on the object to represent the shading. So see how you can try and do this, the lines straight. And you see, okay, is this dark enough? So I'm going to do it darker. These lines I usually do not too dark because I will erase them at the end. But so that you can see, I'm going to make them darker. There. So that's the first step. The first step is done. On the second step, oh, as you see, one thing I just forgot to mention, I did not use a ruler to do this. Now, if you are having problem doing those lines straight, then use the side of your book as your guide. So as you slide your hand down here, you just have to have the pencil on the book, and so it will guide you to do a very straight line like this. And the same thing is true on the other side, like this. Now, on the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to add the circle and add the sides. Now, the sides, oops, can you still hear me okay? I think it's when I put my finger here somewhere that you cannot hear me as well. So can you still hear me okay now? So the side will be equidistant from the center. So the distance we have here needs to be the distance we have here between these two lines. So arbitrarily, I'm going to make my cup about this wide. Okay, so you guys can still see okay. Trying to make sure. And then the distance, I'm just going to use my pencil to measure it. So I put my nail right here and I put the tip of my pencil to the line. Once I have this, then I bring my nail to the middle line and right at the tip of the pencils where I put my other nail, and this is where my other line will go. There. So I have my mug. Maybe it's not as tall as the one that I see there, but it's going to be my mug. And if I were to measure it, there's no measuring needed, Leslie. But if I were to measure it, the width of this should be the same as the width of this. Now, to do this part here, this part. So if you were looking at your mug right from the top, it would be completely round. Now, as you are not seeing it from the top, then it's more of an eye shape that you want to do here than a full circle. The way that I would usually do it is I would try to measure it like this and compare it with the width. Like in this case, it's about the height here appears 4 times. So it would be about this much. This much would be about here. So I'm going to say that this is where the bottom part will appear, and it has to be the same distance to the middle line. So it would be here. Like this. I put these lines like this. Once I have these lines, these two little lines, the distance between this major line here and this little mark is the same as between this line here and this other little mark. And this way, when I do the eye shape for the top lip, it will be symmetrical. Once I have this, then I can draw it. You guys can go ahead too. Right here to the corner, to the other corner. Like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing down here. From the corner through this little line that I put here to the other corner. All right, once this is done, one thing that you can do just to verify, if you have any little piece of tracing paper, this is not absolutely necessary, but it's a good way for you to verify that your drawing is done correctly. So if you were to put your little tracing paper and trace this here on your tracing paper, and try to be as precise as possible. You don't have to do this, I'm just showing you the trick. So I also include the middle line here and the middle line here. Now, using this, if I fold it like this, they should be completely symmetrical. So I fold it on the fold in the middle. And see, now I can see, you look here, they're not quite exactly symmetrical. One is longer than the other. So I would have to make them equal. And I can do the same thing the other way to verify my drawing. Fold it on the middle line. And once it's folded, then if they're not exactly on the line, that means that I need to make some adjustments. You see that it's not quite exactly here. So I need to make the adjustments. So that's a trick that you can do to try to make things more symmetrical. So I'm going to make my adjustments. So I forget now what I need to do. This one is longer. So this one is longer for some reason. Yeah. So this is actually too long. So I'm going to move this like this. Okay. This will be better. Okay, and it looks better like this now. And I see I need to do a little adjustments here. Like this. This is better. There. All right. So now I've done my eye shape top. And, ooh, Heather, how are you doing? Need to sleep. And now we need to also put the bottom part here. Now, if you look at the mug that you got, so this is pretty much how I see it from where I'm sitting when it's on this platform here. And so therefore, I can tell you that this part here is a nice smile, and this is an even deeper smile, not by much because it's not a very tall mug, but this smile is a little bit deeper than this smile. So the curve here will be even a little deeper here, and that's because of the law of perspective and also because of what I see. So this has got to go like this. So I'm going to put the little line here again and go from here through the line, from the corner through the line. And I'm just going to put it like this because with the easel, it's in the way. So there. I think my bottom is not quite low enough. So I'm going to make it even lower. Here. This will be better. Yeah. Yeah, actually the shape is a little funny. It needs to go more like this. So with the kneaded eraser, you can erase like a normal eraser. Don't necessarily have to tap with it or press with it. There. So now that I have my shape, we've actually completed this step here, which was to put the sides and the oval. Now we're on to this step here, where I have a lip, so I'm going to add a second circle around the top part. And now's the time to add the handle as well as where the wall behind the mug meets the platform on which the mug resides. So observe if you have something behind your mug, that's good. Observe where it is and put it at the right height. I'm going to do it according to what I see on the wall there. And it's about at this height. It's about at this height. So I'm going to put it sideways, and I'm just going to do a line that goes from one side to the other, just a straight line. And the reason that I draw it through here is just so that it's actually straight. And when I go like this, it's almost straight. And once it's drawn, then I can erase this part, which is what I'm going to do now. It's very important when you have a straight line behind your object that you are drawing to make sure that it actually meets. Of course, you can use a ruler. But it gives more of a dynamic to your drawing when you hand-free hand-free drawing, freehand drawing. I don't know how to say this, but anyway, you understand. Now that we have all of this, it's time to draw the handle. Now observe your mug. The one that I have here starts on an incline, comes to this height, which is a little lower than the top, and then comes around, and then it finishes with a very deep incline here. If I were to use Bob as my mug, well, this one is actually very straight here at the top. It starts straight, horizontal, completely horizontal, before coming around to a semicircle and finishing completely horizontal here too. The mug that you have probably is completely different too. So observe what you see on your mug and try to represent what you see. So what I'll do is first I will draw this, the outside of the handle, and then once this is drawn, then I will draw the inside. To do this, first I indicate which height it starts here. It's about here. And which height does it touch at the bottom, which is pretty low. About here. Then I want to start with the angle that I have here. So it goes like this. In this angle, it's pretty steep. So it goes like this. This one comes around, and then it just goes around like this. Clean it up. Looks like an ear. So once I'm satisfied with this part of the handle, then I'm going to draw the inside line. The inside line is pretty equidistant from the outside line in the case of this mug, except where it touches the mug. All right, so now we can see we have pretty much all the pieces, except we have those lines in the middle that really don't belong there. So I'm going to erase those lines at this time. Because I made them so dark, they don't really completely disappear. But when I draw for myself or I draw for a visual drawing, I usually don't make those lines super dark. So they're easy to erase. And there's this little part here of the line that you also want to erase because it's behind the handle. The only other thing that's missing on my mug is the lip. In the case of this mug, there is like a little lip here that makes for an interesting detail. If you have a mug like this one, then you don't have to have this lip. But someone had a fluted little mug, so you can add that now that you have drawn everything symmetrical. Now you can adjust and put the flute. So the little lip is about this big. And it goes beyond the edges, so it actually adds. On either side. It's good. And also, if you look here, this here creates a nice lighter area on this side compared to what's inside completely. So I'm also draw a line here to save this white area. So this white line will be inside the mug, so I'm going to put it below the frown line. And it meets in the corner like this. We are at this point now. And so now you have a choice to do your shading, and I will demonstrate. This is what I will demonstrate. So you can do your shading by doing lines, shading like this and moving your pencil this way. But you can also move your pencil this way if that's what you want. Or you could decide to do cross-hatching like this. This is, some people prefer to do it this way. I find this very difficult, but it all depends on what you like to do. And you can, this is another example of how you can do the shading. We will probably not proceed to complete this tonight because there's not even 10 minutes left. However, this will be your homework to finish the shading. And what I will do is I will attempt to do it like this, but I will probably use this as my guide because the lamp doesn't seem to be behaving very well. So this one, the light is coming from here and it's casting a shadow on the left. So it would be best if I showed you my, it would be best if I showed you my drawing. I think I had the thumb on the microphone there for a moment. I'm going to start with my HB. And I'm going to start with the HB, and I'm going to put all of this section here. I'm going to do a nice light gray. And I'm not afraid to make it too dark because I know that I can always use the kneaded eraser to make it lighter, just to show you. So if I have this and I find that one section is a little too dark, I can use my kneaded eraser, maybe just to make a very light line, such as this with a kneaded eraser, or I can use a kneaded eraser, mold it to the shape that I want, and if I just press, what's going to happen is it's going to make it lighter, but not completely erase my gray. And if I were to go like this, you can see it can erase pretty easily. So first step is, now I'm going to equalize it back, is to put all of this whole side, put it a light gray. And you're welcome to do the same with me at the same time if you want to. So this is the first step. And I have the HB pencil to do this. And one thing that I've realized is if you have a 4B that is the Artist Loft, that's the Michaels brand, it's not going to give as good results as this brand, Stedler, which my 4B is actually getting very small now. But this will give better results and make it even darker. This brand, the Stedler, over the Artist Loft. It's just a question of quality. The quality is better. So I'm continuing with this. With my HB.
Here, if your my mug has the darker is different than your mug. We go by what we have, right? Like
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You go by what you have. I'm following what I have here, actually. I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing.
All right.
So that's my first step. And then I take the 4H and I'm going to make it even lighter over here. With the 4H. All right, so this would be the first step, going from a darker area to a much lighter area on this side. And with the kneaded eraser, you can always clean it up because this lip is gonna stay light. Now, using the 4B, I'm going to make certain sections even darker. And when you are using your pencil, if you find that you're getting your paper dirty, you can always put a piece of paper under your hand to keep this from happening. So this section here will be even darker. So now I have the 4B, and with this 4B, I'm going even darker on this section here, because this is what I saw when I was doing this drawing here. So darker in this area, up to a point. And also at the bottom. So it's all a question of pressure on the pencil. The more you use your pencils, the more you'll be able to control the pressure when you're using them. All right, and then I can clean up this bottom part with my kneaded eraser. And inside here, because the light comes from the right and cast it, you know, it creates all this light on this side and all this shadow on this side. Inside the mug, then this part will be in the shadow and this part will be in the light. So I need to put the shadow area here. Now I'm using my 4B, but soon I'm going to have to use the 4H because although it is dark, I don't want it to get too dark. And with the 4H, I know that it will not get too dark. H stands for hard. Hard means that there's less lead that is put on the paper when I'm using this pencil. For B, B stands for bold, and therefore it's going to get a much bolder tone on the paper when I use the 4B. I can go here and make this even darker. This area. There.
Claire,
Yes?
on the numbers on the B, you know, 4B, 6B, 2B, what as the numbers go up, what do the numbers mean? Not the B part. But.
All right. So you can see here on this is my little box of pencils.
Okay.
And they have a scale that I'm showing on the camera. So 8B is the darkest.
Darker, okay.
It goes to 8, 7, 6. As it comes down in the B's, then it gets lighter. See, 2B is lighter than 8B.
Okay.
Then in the middle, you have the B, H, B, F, and then it starts with H, 2H, and as it goes higher in numbers, all the way to 9H is the lightest of them.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, I have several Bs that somebody gave me, and I didn't know, couldn't really tell, but what the difference was. So.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, it's already 8:02, and we haven't had a chance to do the shadow on the table or anything, but I will send you the examples that I completed prior to class, and you have your own shadow that you have on your own mug, and that's what you should be following. So your homework will be to finish the shading on your mug.